Shalom, Call Halal, Wahawat, La Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rachak Wadash, the abundance of the elder apostles at Great Millstone, Ruel, who have taught us knowledge. Honors and salutations to you fellow laborers out there that's doing the work of truth and sincerity. Shalom to you and shalom to the few Akwap that believe as well. Now, this is another video involving this guy, Lawyer James. I did a couple videos about this guy, and I found this video that he did, because the last video I did on him, he was going off, right, with the Esau and Japhet, being one nation thing, all right. That was off, my man. Now, in this video, I gotta give credit where credit is due. All right. I gotta, you gotta humble down and give credit where credit is due. All right. And now this particular video, he go into John 3:16, and he breaks it down. He's on point with it too. All right. So, hey, kudos in this video, Lawyer James, because you actually got this one right. All right, and I'm gonna play a little of the video, like I said, and Lord willing, again, this video is edifying, because all these videos that I do, all the Akim out there in the world that are true worshipers, we do it for edification, all right, to build. And what we're building up the spirit of those Israelites that truly believe in the Heavenly Father and His Son, all right, and His Word, or through His Word, all right. So, without any further ado, let's get to it.
And what we found, done the research, so kind of go along with what
I gotta go back a little bit, So, let's play from this point right here.
Do the research to find out, is there more than one world, or is there only...
Shalakia. Let's go back a little bit. I watched the whole video, by the way. Pretty good video. All right.
Right? Now, when you look at this from a scholastic level, what you want to ask yourself, okay, how many worlds are actually referenced to in this book, right? So then...
And by the way, he's talking about John 3:16, as you can see on the title of his video, John 3:16, for God so... Well, let's read it, because this is what he's going into. And like I said, I'm giving credit where credit is due. He was on point in this video. All right, John 3:16, it says, "For God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in Him should not perish but have everlasting life." And I want to put the link in the description box too. So Akim out there, he watch the video. Like I said, in the videos I've watched of this man thus far, he go off, and then this video right here, in particular, is on point. So again, you got to give credit where credit is due. All right. So let's get to the video.
We want to kind of do the research to find out, is there more than one world, or is there only one world? Because if there is only one world, then it would make sense to kind of go along with what's been promulgated today, that is talking about the whole entire world, i.e. planet. So let's go ahead and do some research, and I've actually done the...
And that's true what he said, because John 3:16 is like the most quoted scripture out of the Bible. All right, out of all the 1611 King James Version Bible, the main scripture is that's recited more than anything is John 3:16, because as he found out through researching, all right, and digging into the scriptures, that it's not pertaining to the whole world itself, or everyone that's within or inhabitants of the planet. So he actually did some research, which was good research, and he pretty much broke it down pretty much the way that we break it down. All right, he was, like I said, he was on point,
Research. So let's go to the book of Hebrews, okay? Let's go to the book of Hebrews here. And what we find in the book of Hebrews it actually tells us how many, if there's only one world or if there's more than one world. So we're going to be looking at Hebrews chapter 1, and then we're going to read verse 2. Okay, so it says, hath in these last days spoken unto us by his Son, whom he had appointed heir of all things, by whom also he made the worlds. Now, notice how it said z at the end, not z as in z, but actually plural, because here it says worlds and it has an s on the end. So when we go back and look at John 3:16, for God so loved the world, now we're kind of in a dilemma, because we have to ask ourselves, what world is being referred to in John 3:16? Because in Hebrews chapter 1 verse 2, it says, hath he made the worlds. So there's more than one world.
You hear that vocab? you hear that? All you guys that get you know you get upset because you don't think the scriptures is speaking about the world of Israel or pertaining to the Israelites. Then you get all mad because you want to fit everyone into the covenants of promises, and whom the Lord came for and died for ultimately. So he actually, like I said, he's on point in this video. Kudos to you, Lawyer James. Okay. And there are more than one world in the scriptures. All right. So I'm gonna fast forward a little bit. All right, because he actually bring up just about all the precepts. He even proved who the Lord's people is too in this video. Like I said, which was good, Let's see, fast forward. I'm gonna fast forward till he bring out Isaiah 45. Here we go. Now let's back up a little bit and hear a little piece.
Hundreds of years later, or in another country, or in another state, or in another city. Does that make sense? So when we
let's go back, Slaki. Let's go back. I'm putting this up raw, so I got a few precepts written down, so I'm gonna get to them as well. But I wanted you to hear what he's saying.
It doesn't actually mean that. I'm actually speaking to whoever is on that set with me at that particular time. Even though I use terminology like anyone or any man or whosoever, but that doesn't actually mean that you're talking about someone, in another country or in another.
Yeah, let's go back a little bit. Let's go back a little further. Cause he goes into that part. What John 3:16, where it says, "Whosoever believeth on him." Yeah, let's get that.
If I'm on set, right, and
let's go back a little further. Let's see. Let's go back a little further. Let it play a little bit.
Upon a pole, and it shall come to pass that everyone that is bitten, when he looketh upon it, shall live. And Moses made a serpent of brass and put it upon a pole, and it came to pass that if a serpent had bitten any man, when he beheld the serpent of brass, he lived. So notice here it says any man, and then it says everyone. So we can't pick and choose how we want to use this text. So does everyone mean that if you was bitten by a serpent on Pluto, that you would live? Or if you was bitten by a serpent on Mars, or if you was bitten by a serpent on Neptune? You see where I'm going with this?
He's referring to numbers during the time of Moses. In the wilderness and everything, we journeying up to our land that the Lord promised us, which is known as the land of Canaan, the land that flowed with milk and honey. The promised land. And this is during that time period when, when the Lord told Moses to make that fiery serpent. That's what he's referring to, because he's using, that particular precept to prove that the whosoever or anyone is not talking about any people. It's pertaining to the Israelites, because who was traveling with Moses? Who was journeying with Moses? First of all, Moses was the Israelite himself, and he was journeying with his people, which was his fellow Israelites. All right, that's why, you know, that was a good precept to bring up. You know, like I said, when I put the description box, when I put the video in the description box, you can watch it on your own. He actually did pretty good in this video. All right.
So anytime verbiage is being used, it's actually referring to whoever is there being spoken to at that particular time. Like, for example...
Yeah, who was there? The children of Israel. All right, the Israelites. All right, like I just said.
If I'm on set, right, and, you know, we're shooting a commercial or something along those lines, and I say, okay, well, if we can get all of this done in X amount of takes or whatever the case may be, then the extra or whatever, everyone can go home early, or whosoever does this can go home early. Does that mean anyone who is doing film in Russia, or anyone who is doing film in China, or anyone who is doing film in Cape Town or Brazil? It doesn't actually mean that. I'm actually speaking to whoever is on that set with me at that particular time. Even though I use terminology like anyone or any man or whosoever, but that doesn't actually mean that you're talking about someone, you know, in another country or in another state or in another city. Does that make sense? So when we...
See, and I say he's on point, man. I gotta let this play, man. I gotta let this play. Slaki Aki. You know, I'm giving credit where credit is due. All right.
We read John 3:16, and it's saying whosoever. It's specifically referring to a particular people. It's not. We can't find a letter or find something, you know, hundreds of years later or thousands of years later, and immediately say it's talking about us, if that makes sense. So now that we see this here,
and that's another thing. They used John 3:16 to refer to every single person on this earth, and it's not talking about that. All right, it's not talking about every single person, every nation. No, it's referring to the Israelites. All right, the world of Israel.
Let's go and see if we can find what world was being spoken to, where it says, "For God so loved the world," right? We can actually find that. We're going to go back to the book of Isaiah. Let's go back to the book of Isaiah, because that's where we're going to be able to find it. So it's Isaiah chapter 45, verse 17. And this is what it says. It says, "But Israel shall be saved in the Lord with an everlasting salvation. Ye shall not be ashamed nor confounded, world without end."
Ooh. That hurt right there, vocab. That hurt, my man. This Jake right here got it right. All right, Lawyer James, he got it right. Like I said, he's on point in this video. All right. Gotta give credit, man. This is how you break it down. These you know, yeah, I gotta say Esau, because Esau, you know, he the one that deceived, you know, the world to believe in the Lord loves everyone, you know. But vocab, Lawyer James actually broke it down right. All right, let's let it keep playing, you know.
World without end. Based on this, now let's
read it again.
Ye shall not be ashamed, verse 17. And this is what it says. It says, "But Israel shall be saved in the Lord with an everlasting salvation. Ye shall not be ashamed nor confounded, world without end." World without end. Based on this, now let's keep in mind when it says, "But Israel shall be saved," don't get confused, because it's not talking about a land. Nowhere from cover to cover was I able to find a land that was actually called Israel. Israel is the name of a man. You see, his name was Jacob, and it was changed to Israel, and Israel had children. he had 12 sons who became the sons of Israel, the tribes of Israel. All right, you see that? So we can't get confused, and we can't allow someone else to give us the goggles to see through, is what I've learned when I've done this investigative research. We can't allow someone else to give us the goggles to see through, to show us or to tell us what something actually says. We want to kind of go and find out for ourselves. Now, in this particular reading, we broke down, or we had a scholastic view of John 3:16, where we found out that it's not talking about the whole entire planet, it's only talking about a specific people, and those people are the so-called Israelites, okay?
Hey, perfectly said. Well done, all right? Well done, my man. You've been watching. Obviously, he been watching, all right? So, let's go to the book of Matthew 18. All right. Matthew 18. And I'm bringing this up for a good reason, because this is how all of us came, when we came to the knowledge of, or learned the knowledge of us being Israelites, right? When the Lord opened our spiritual eyes to understand, all right, and to receive this knowledge, we had to become like babes, right? Or a child, because when you're a babe and a child, you have to be taught, And that's the reason why when I rebuked Lawyer James, and I brought up the precept in the same book of Matthew, where it says, "Enter ye at the straight gate," right? I believe I was quoting out of, was it Matthew 20, like Matthew 26 or 28, chapter 1 or 2, if I ain't mistaken, if I remember right. I wrote down a few precepts in that particular video, but anyways, entering in the straight gate is learning the right way. And I bring this precept up because how you learn is when you become as a child again, or a babe again, and be taught all over again. Even though, yeah, you can physically see that we're grown men, but you have to become as a child when, or a babe when you come to this world. You don't know anything, so you have to learn and be taught by your parents. And then we have spiritual parents, all right, or spiritual parents. Our spiritual parents, I'm sorry, is the elders and the elder apostles and the Akim, or the brethren that they've been doing this thing or teaching this knowledge for a long while that we learn from. So this is Matthew. Let's start at the top. Matthew 18:1. It says, "At the same time came the disciples unto Yahushua, saying, Who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven?" And by the way, Lawyer James, we put the Most High and His Son name there when need be, because we know their true names. Let me make that point too, by the way. And I know he don't get into the name thing as of in that video, but we use the names because we know the names. All right. It says, at the same time came the disciples unto Yahushua, saying, Who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven? And Yahushua called a little child unto him, and set him in the midst of them, and said, Verily I say unto you, except ye be converted and become as little children, ye should not enter into the kingdom of heaven. Right? Because a child has to be taught. You see? A child has to be taught and has to be raised up in the right way. It's like how the elder apostles put, if you was around the elder apostles or the young elders, or a brother that's been laboring a lot longer than you, and they put you on the spot and see how how much knowledge you've been soaking up and how far along you come by actually to break down a particular going to a particular breakdown and what have you. It's to to see how you're growing. Basically check on your process or your or progress. I'm sorry, checking your progress of obtaining this knowledge. All right, how much you've been soaking it up. It says, "Whosoever," verse 4, "Whosoever therefore shall humble himself as this little child, the same is greatest in the kingdom of heaven. And whoso shall receive one such little child in my name receiveth me." So that's how we are. I came in. Even when coming out of from the world, you have to really just erase everything you learned from the world for the most part. You remember some things like certain parts of history, things you learn as far as history, but then you find out that the true history or history that was covered up, and then you really get into that as well. And so you like, man, they taught this in school or whatever. And you realize that the true history, that you should have been learning, and you have to go along with the truth, because the truth is what we live by and abide by. All right, the word of truth. All right, and so, hey, it's good to humble down and become as a child. All right, I'll just say that. All right, so let's go from there. I want to go to the book of Proverbs, because I spoke about, you know, I spoke about, excuse me, uh, I have rebuked lawyer James, which rightfully so, right? Being defenders of the gospel, we have to make sure that no one is uh, perverting the gospel, or if someone going off, all right. The scriptures speak about, when you see a neighbor falling, how you help your neighbor, all right, from falling into temptation, or going off, pretty much. The scriptures say iron sharpening iron. Now this guy, lawyer James, he's a Jake, right? He's an Israelite, and if he can receive it, you know what I'm saying, and receive the true understanding, that's a good thing. All right, that's a good thing. All right, we don't want to see, we're not in this to see, your neighbor or your fellow Israelites perish. If those that truly seek knowledge, that's a good thing. All right. So it says, Proverbs chapter 9 and verse 8. It says, "Reprove not a scorner, lest he hate thee. Rebuke a wise man, and he will love thee." And this guy, he has some wisdom. All right, he has some wisdom. Obviously he's a Jake that actually doing his research. All right, as you can tell from the snippet parts of the video I'm playing, he's actually doing his research. All right, he's actually studying, or going into the scriptures, I should say. It says, "Rebuke a wise man, and he will love thee." It says, verse 9, "Give instruction to a wise man, and he will be yet wiser. Teach a just man, and he will increase in learning." All right, so that's what it's all about, man. All right, and if you can, like I said, if you can receive it, lawyer James, you're an Israelite, which I'm sure I'm sure you can see that. All right, I'm quite sure you can see that. It says, verse 10. It says, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the holy is understanding." And that's what we ultimately seek, understanding. All right, of the scriptures. So that's a good thing, my man. All right, that's a good thing. All right, so rebuke is not, someone would look at rebuke and, drop their heads, but rebuke is not a bad thing. If the person, appear to be wise. It said, "Rebuke a wise man, and he will love thee." 2 Timothy 4:1, it says, "I charge thee therefore before the Heavenly Father and the Lord Yahushua HaMashiach, who shall judge the quick and the dead at his appearing and his kingdom. Preach the word, be instant, in season and out of season." Right now we're in season, the warm months. Out of season will be the cold months. It says reprove, rebuke, exhort with all long suffering and doctrine. And that's pretty much why I took the stance I took on him, because watching the videos, watching how he going off, and hey, you don't want to mislead or scatter the sheep. All right, let me say that you don't want to mislead or scatter the sheep. What did Yahweh Shah said? He that gathereth not with me scattereth abroad. And the Lord has a judgment for those of you Israelites out there that willfully mislead the sheep. All right, you can read that in the book of Jeremiah, the 23rd chapter. So you don't want you don't want to mislead the Lord's sheep, which the Lord's sheep is the house of Israel. All right. Lawyer James understand who the Lord's people is. When I put the description in the description box and you see this video, look at the whole video. You will see he goes into who is the Lord's people. All right, I just want to play the whole video. Jake attention span a little short, so I ain't want to play the whole video, but hey, he went into that. All right, he went into it was a good video. All right, so I ain't gonna hold you any longer. With that, I'm gonna say shalom until the next video. Shalom.